I do not think the rollout, the slow roll of Dawn of DCU, or as I call it, the yawn of DCU, has been very good. And I don't know. I just think a lot of Wonder Woman, Flash fans are going to be really pissed about the news I talk about right here, right now. I think Hawkman and Hawkgirl fans are going to be thoroughly fucking confused, which I am. You know, I'm a Hawkman fan, and I'm going, like, I don't get that whatsoever. But DC Comics finally starts filling in the blanks as far as the creative teams for these upcoming projects that we knew were coming from the big display that they've had with the timeline and all that stuff. We've got an updated one of those as well that's got a little hint to it. DC Comics announced new Dawn of DCU initiatives that include new creative teams and series relaunches for The Flash and Wonder Woman, as well as the new series Hawkgirl. A new Dawn of DC timeline was also revealed, featuring another semi-hidden element on the right side, similar to what we saw last month. This time, it's clearly Detective Chimp holding Dr. Fate's helmet. I wish they just understood their audience more. Like, what's going to get people super duper excited? Detective Chimp holding Dr. Fate's helmet's going to get like maybe 100 people excited, but that's not exactly going to be bringing in DC Comics lapsed fans back in, which is what this is supposed to be doing. DC Comics talked to Comics Pro and said, hey, this is the way we're going to target lapsed fans. We're going to do Dawn of DCU. And I just don't think this is going to do very well, mostly because the creative teams involved. I guess the biggest one we need to talk about first is Wonder Woman. Beginning in September with Wonder Woman #1, Tom King and Daniel Sampry will be the new creative team. After a mysterious Amazonian is accused of mass murder, the U.S. Congress passes the Amazon Safety Act, barring all Amazons from American soil. To carry out its new law, the government sets up the Amazon Extradition Entity, also known as AXE, task force to remove those who don't comply by any means necessary. In her search for the truth behind the killing, Wonder Woman now finds herself an outlaw in the world she once swore to protect. The action-packed Wonder Woman #1 will be available at local comic shops in July, and Wonder Woman 800 features a prelude to this story. Can we stop like with the legislation stories? Like, listen, I like Civil War as well, but God, it's just like carbon copying the exact same thing over and over and over. And it's almost like ridiculous to think that the world would turn on Wonder Woman at this point. She's only saved America so many times, it's not even funny. The idea just behind the premise of the story itself is just kind of whatever. But I've seen bad ideas turn out to be good comics, and I've seen good ideas turn out to be bad comics. Obviously, the big selling point, or the reason to stay away from it, is Tom King is writing it. I don't think Tom King works on an ongoing comic book series. If you don't believe me, go read his Batman. It starts out pretty okay. You can definitely see some holes in what he's doing, and then it just goes on forever because the guy doesn't know how to end a story. That's why he's so much better when he's contained to a mini-series. Who's interested in seeing Wonder Woman as a stand-in for Tom King's wife? I'm not interested in that. I know the sales will definitely go up because they can only go up after Cloonrad because the sales were so bad. But I got news for Wonder Woman fans. They're like, oh yeah, Tom King, the guy that did the Supergirl story, but you've never read Tom King? Well, welcome to the party. You're about to find out what a Tom King ongoing series is all about. It'll probably start out pretty good. Like the first few issues, you'll be like, wow, this is really refreshing. This feels like it's going somewhere. And then when you find out where it's going, it's absolutely terrible. I don't know why they're doing this. And another great comic book artist is being attached to Tom King. How many great up-and-coming comic artists can Tom King poison with his absolute shit storytelling? Mitch Garrett sucks now. I like Clay Mann, but he's only known for doing Tom King stories at this point. And they all suck. So you're like, wow, the art's good, but the story's terrible. And Daniel Sampry kind of felt like maybe he was the future of DC Comics. I don't think Jorge Jimenez is going to be around that much longer. They need the next guy to kind of step up and be that flagship artist for DC Comics. And Daniel Sampry could be that guy, but you're kind of sinking him. I understand he'll have more visibility being attached to Tom King as a writer, but the stories are going to be hated. I mean, it's Tom King. He has shown us who he is over the past, 5 or 6 years. And at this point, he can't change who he is. Like, he's going to destroy Wonder Woman. So I'm sorry if you're a Wonder Woman fan. It's going to be better than Cloonrad, but it's going to be awful in the end. Probably worse is the writers on The Flash. Beginning in September with Flash #1, Psy Spurrier and Mike Deodato Jr. will be the new creative team. Wally West has never been quicker, more fulfilled, more heroic. His loving family is around him, and yet something is off, very off. His evolving understanding of his powers has opened Wally to a new avenue of sci-fi adventure and attuned his sense to strange new ideas. Something whispers from the dark vibrations beyond the Speed Force, and as Wally experiments with creative new approaches to his powers, he encounters new realms, mysterious allies, and mind-shattering terrors. Starting with the prelude in the soon-to-be legendary Flash 800, The Chronicles of the Fastest Man Alive take on action-packed turn towards cosmic horror. I don't want to see Psy Spurrier write Wally West as the Flash. I want to see Jeremy Adams continue on with this character. Maybe if the sales weren't quite good enough on Jeremy Adams being like the Flash writer, just do Wally West miniseries. Maybe 1 or 2 a year to keep the story going. And I think people would end up finding out that it's a great story. But like Psy Spurrier is a bigger nobody than Jeremy Adams. And Jeremy Adams has only been in the industry for 2 years. Psy Spurrier's been here for like 15 years now. He's never written anything like people remember. Why would you put him on the Flash series? You've got Batman, you've got Superman, and then you have the Flash when it comes to sales for DC Comics, when it comes to solo books. Yes, he's not as important as Wonder Woman, but sales-wise, he's the third most important DC hero in their entire universe. And to just stick some nobody that's going to do some weird shit with the character and probably ruin him just as badly, if not worse, than Tom King, like, what's the point? Psy Spurrier is not a Flash writer. He has an exceptionally cynical take on heroes. That doesn't work with Wally West. That's why people that at least were reading the Jeremy Adams Flash series really liked it so much, because it felt like Wally, because it was so full of hope and so much full of family and embracing all of these things. Psy Spurrier is the antithesis of Jeremy Adams. I can't imagine him taking a weirder turn with this. Now, I guess it's kind of better than Tom Taylor, who was gunning for that series, but even Tom Taylor has written more good comic stories than Psy Spurrier. DC Comics has got to find some new editorial staff that actually have contacts with good writers. Like Psy Spurrier would be fine on a Black Mask book that's sci-fi or whatever. But on The Flash, he's absolutely a fish out of water, and I can't imagine a weirder pairing of character and writer. Like, those things don't mix whatsoever. Now, as far as Hawkman, we were kind of all excited. The Hawkman logo is on the Dawn of DCU graphic. We knew we were going to get something, but I don't think this is exactly what we had in mind. Hawkgirl from Jadzia Axelrod and Amin K. Nahupan will debut in July. Kendra Saunders, the winged warrior better known as Hawkgirl, has been one of the DC Universe's greatest heroes for a long time, serving as a member of both the Justice League and the Justice Society. But with the Justice League disbanded, Kendra decides she needs a fresh start and heads to Metropolis to begin a new life. That life is quickly interrupted by a mysterious villain with a powerful connection to Nth Metal that makes up Hawkgirl's wings and weapons. Hawkgirl will also feature a series of covers that recount Kendra's DC history. Hawkgirl #1 will be available on July 18th at local comic shops. They make it sound like this is an ongoing series, but Hawkman himself has a hard time carrying an ongoing series, and Hawkgirl can't do that. Like, what is even the point? And if she was done with the Justice League and Justice Society, she wouldn't go to Metropolis to try out for Sex in the City. She would be with her husband. Like, that's part of the character's identity. Like, who the fuck is Jadzia Axelrod? No one's heard of this person in their life. I understand Hawkgirl is not a premier character, and there's no way this series makes it past like 10 issues, because there will be no one to read it, but at least fucking try and get a comic book writer. No one's heard of Jadzia Axelrod. Hawkman and Hawkgirl fans don't get a whole lot of stuff, especially with solo series. Can you at least fucking try to put somebody that can write a comic book story on it? Maybe some name recognition. I mean, I like the artist. He was doing some pretty cool stuff with Flash, I think, as a villain artist, but I just feel bad for Hawkman fans. You see the logo and you assume it's going to be a Hawkman and Hawkgirl series starring Hawkman himself. It ends up being a Hawkgirl solo series when she's going to go to Metropolis and find out what it's like to be single, even though that makes no sense for the character. But like, what a really weird announcement. They also announced for Steelworks, the dude that played Worf, Michael Dorn, is going to be writing Steelworks. I mean, whatever. That series was never going to be a big seller either, but I hope they're paying Michael Dorn more than they're paying Jadzia Axelrod. At least he's got somewhat of a name in entertainment, but I don't know. I'm just completely confused. I don't know why they're doing this Hawkgirl thing. I guess I can understand why they're doing Wonder Woman. Tom King on the series will make it more high vis. The sales will go up, but he'll also ruin the character, like, in the process. You know, at one point I would have thought, you know, Tom King on a female hero, that's the way to go. And then I read Batman and Catwoman. I was like, nah. I think he just destroys every character because he only sees himself and his wife, and like, as the main characters in there. And we'll definitely learn exactly what he thinks about his wife and what's wrong with her, because that's exactly who Wonder Woman's going to be. Psy Spurrier on Flash. I can't imagine a worse pick for a Wally West-led Flash series than Psy Spurrier. I don't know, the yawn of DCU, like who gives a shit? This sucks. Yeah, there's going to be a couple series here and there that are good. We're losing the good Flash series, but it'll be replaced by a good Green Lantern series. Superman appears to have some promise. It sounds like World's Finest will continue. Shazam should probably be good, but I ain't counting on much else. This is actually quite depressing. In fact, I talked to Jim right after the initial Dawn of DCU announcements. We were like, is this thing dead in the water before it even begins just because of the way that they've done it and they announced it? This was a really interesting conversation, and I think if we had this information at the time, it would have been even bleaker, if you can imagine that. Definitely check this out. There's also a link in the video description.